Hey, gang, I know many of you have dreamt about writing your own book. We talk about that dream all the time here on Turley Talks. Well, I'm here today with a patriot who has done precisely that. Please welcome with me my good friend, Don Price. Don is a member of our mastermind community where many of our members are currently writing their own books. Don is a retired police officer, and he is the author of the brand new book that's just come out entitled Cop Talk, Safety, Suicide, PTSD, and More. And it's a wonderful glimpse behind the badge, as it were, of the heroes in our communities, the police who have been under such enormous and ridiculously unfair scrutiny over the last few years. You're going to absolutely want to read this amazing book. I'll link it in the description below. If you're looking for an inspiring Christmas gift for the patriots in your life, for your family, for your friends, this is an absolutely perfect gift. It's literally a gift that's coming from one of our own. So welcome, Don. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you, Dr. Steve. It's good to be here.
Oh, it's great having you. You know, I'm very excited about it. My brother-in-law is a police officer, and so I can't wait to get him a copy of this book for Christmas. Thank you for the gift idea. Let's start with the question as to, why is this topic of getting a glimpse of the life behind the badge so important today, or really more important than ever today?
Well, one of the things that I noticed is that the media today does not represent cops in anything except the worst possible light. And the majority of people, decent people, don't have run-ins with law enforcement. So they have no clue what type of person is in the law enforcement field, what they think, how they act. All they go is what they see in movies, TV, and on the media. And I just thought that somebody needed to tell the other side and hopefully help some people be more safe and maybe even help relationships.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously writing a book is no small task. What led you to say, you know what, I want to put all of what's in my heart here, I want to put it in the form of a book?
Well, I originally started to write it back, I want to say in like the mid 80s. And at the time it was just, I'd had some interesting things happen and I thought it'd be, fun to share them with people. And after starting it, life happened and it just kind of got put on the shelf. And it wasn't until last year that when I saw all of this defund the police nonsense, and now we're seeing the results of ultra liberal district attorneys and attorney generals.
That's right.
They're attacking cops and they're turning loose criminals. I mean, if they even give them a slap on the wrist,
right.
I'm surprised because usually it's like, oh, you poor baby. Oh, we're sorry we put handcuffs on you. Oh, you're not traumatized too bad, are you? Let's let them go. And it's
That's
like,
right.
what's with that?
Yeah, I know the whole absurdity, if you think it through, of if you blame society for what this criminal did, you don't arrest the criminal, you arrest his neighbor. That's the logical outworking of this stuff, right?
Well,
I mean, obviously, you're bringing up no question, there's been so much unrest surrounding this topic of police officers in our culture over the last couple of years. All the polls show it's a minority, which is interestingly enough, very small portion of the people out there. But it's a very significant minority who nevertheless wield inordinate political power, as you mentioned, with these district attorneys and the like, who see the police as the enemy. They see police as the enforcers of a supposedly unjust system. How can we best support our friends and family who are police officers?
Well, I think a lot of it is just letting them know that you're on their side, being respectful to them if you have dealings with them. I know there's a lot of people that are into the what I've heard of called sovereign citizen movement. And it's like, that's all well and good. I can't say that that's not correct, but I can say that there's a respectful way to have dealings with law enforcement. And there's a way that's only going to get you or them or both hurt. And what's the point of that? How does that help anybody? So the thing I would say is that people just need to remember that all of us are of equal worth. We just need to treat each other with some respect.
Right. Right. Yeah. Beautifully said. I love chatting with my brother-in-law. We always talk about police-oriented things, but I always mock him. And I said, well, I don't have to listen to you because, you're the enforcer of a fundamentally racist system and the like. I like to needle him. What is the most common assumption or misunderstanding people make about police officers, law enforcement agents, and the like, and how can we change that narrative?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure that there's a hard and fast answer to that. There's so many facets that. Tell you what, repeat the question and I'll try to come up with something.
Yeah, just what do you think is the most common misunderstanding about police officers today?
Okay, I would say, personal opinion, is that too many people think that cops are in it for the power. And most of the ones that I worked with were not like that. They were in it to help people.
Right.
And if they were in it for the power, I found that they usually didn't last too long. That they ended up either doing something where they abused their position, they used excessive force, and their career would be short-lived.
Right. That's fascinating because my brother-in-law was I asked him because he became a police officer later on in his adult life. Actually, he became a cop right when I got my PhD. We both celebrated him getting a full-time job, and me getting my PhD. Oh, this is several years back, but we both celebrated that together with our families and the like. But I remember asking him, well, what made you do this? Why'd you leave IT, the job he was in before? And he did say, I wanted to serve. I was looking for a career change, and I wanted to have a meaningful career. There was no sense of, I want to control and dominate and force my way on others. None whatsoever. It's and he does it. Yeah.
Can I tell you a funny story happened years ago to me? I had a blind date that I was set up on, and this young lady and I met for dinner someplace, and we were talking, and she said, so what do you do? And at the time I was a reserve police officer, so I was working a full-time job. And I said, well, I do that, but then I'm also a reserve police officer. And she got this look of horror on her face. And she said, ooh, why would you want to be a cop and kill people? Needless to say, the date didn't go very far from that.
That's right. That's right. Well, tell us a little bit about the book. Walk us through a little bit give us sort of an aerial view of what the book's about.
Okay, well, I started off with the introduction of going through an incident that had happened to me shortly after I became an adult and moved out on my own. And it was my first, how would you say, serious dealings with police officers. And it kind of helped me see that things aren't always as they appear. And so whenever I was writing the book, I thought, I'm going to use this to give people a glimpse as to who I am and where I came from. And then I went into how I actually even considered getting into law enforcement. Whenever I was in high school, I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. I mean, literally at one point, my goal in life was to be a beach bum living in Southern California. So, yeah, that's profitable. And so just on a whim, they had this class called Student in the Law, and I signed up for it. And it was really interesting. So it gave me I got a good insight into the deputy sheriff that taught it. And it was one of the things that gave me my first inkling that, gosh, these guys are just normal people. They just have a different type of job. And so after I write about that, then I go through and I thought it would be helpful. My focal audience originally was for people looking to go into law enforcement or that were fairly new officers. And because of that, I wrote about going through the police academy. And so since I originally started off as a reserve, I went through a reserve academy, which was abbreviated compared to the full-time academy. And then several years later, when I went full-time, I went through the Rio Hondo Police Academy in Whittier, California. And so I wrote about that. And the insights that I put in there, I wanted to help the cadets, they call them, to see how their thoughts and how they act can affect things. And so after that, then I just broke the book down according to just interesting accounts of specific incidents that I dealt with or that other officers I had worked with closely dealt with. And so by breaking it up that way, people don't have to read from cover to cover to understand the book. Once they've read through past the part about the academy and stuff, then it gets into the specific incidents, and each one stands alone.
Can I ask you there which account was the hardest one for you to write about?
Oh, well, probably that's a toss-up. There were two of them that really affected me. The one that I did on seasoned drivers, senior drivers, and the one that I called Worst Day of My Life. Between those two, it brought up a lot of old feelings and things that I had thought I'd put behind me. But yeah, especially the seasoned drivers. After that one, I had some interesting dreams for a couple of weeks after that.
Yeah. I noticed that too in some of my writing, some more autobiographical writing, bringing up things I haven't thought about in a while and putting them to paper and thinking so deeply about them. It reawakens things like never before. How about give me an account that was the most fun to write about?
Oh, that was kind of a toss-up too. But I think if I had to just pick one, it would probably be the one called the vehicle burglary, and probably because it reflects the worst on me.
There you go. Self-deprecating. Huh?
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes we're allowed to experience really humbling things for a reason.
Yeah, amen. That's right. That's absolutely right. Right. There's an old saying, in the annals of Christianity of humiliation breeds humility. So we have to remember that when we're humiliated, that there is a spiritual discipline waiting for a nugget there for us to be able to take a hold of and get sanctified from. So, and who did you write the book for? What ideally, who do you see benefiting from reading a book like this?
Well, like I said, originally I started with the focal audience as being police officers and people thinking about being police officers. But after having my wife read it as my editor and proofreader, And when she was done, she said, I just can't believe how much more and better I understand you now. She said, everybody should read this book. She said, anybody who has family in law enforcement, anybody who's even slightly considered and interested in law enforcement, or even people who hate cops, they would understand better what cops are about and why they do what they do. And so I guess the specific audience is everybody.
Everybody. Absolutely. It's a message that everyone, it will resonate with anyone and everyone. Gang,
well, if you look through the, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, no, please go ahead.
If you look through the reviews on Amazon, the people that replied or that posted a review, many of them didn't know anything about law enforcement, had no interest. They just like to read, and they found my book and they were just really pleased with what they learned. And that's my whole goal, is that people will take this information to heart and maybe just think a little different when you see a cop out there on the street.
Amen to that. Oh, wonderful. This is so timely, Don. Gang, if you are thinking of going into law enforcement, if you're already an officer, if you have a friend or family member of one, and you want more insight into the mindset that such an individual needs to successfully fill that amazing role of law enforcement, as you heard Don explain, this book is for you. Please order your copy of Don's book today. You don't want to miss this. The link to the order is in the description below. Like I said, I'm giving it as a gift to my brother-in-law as a police officer, and I hope you give it as a Christmas gift this year as well. Don, thank you so much for sharing your gifts and your passions with us. It was an honor to have you, my friend.
It was a total honor to be here, Dr. Steve. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and really appreciate anybody who learns and is benefited by the book. And I hope that I have my email address inside the book, so hopefully they'll contact me. I'm always open to other officers' accounts of funny things, or even not so funny, scary things that happen to them, anything that they want to discuss, or who knows, maybe I'll write a second book and include their incidents too.
Yeah, there you go. An updated version. That's right. Yep. Yeah. Great, Don. Thanks so much, brother.
Well, thank you, Dr. Steve. God bless, and Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas to you, my friend.